archive this for the annals of history. All right.
Okay.
Take it away.
So we have been working on this VM, right? So basically the UI part
Nice
of the
tabs.
VM. Yeah, yeah. So basically, I have came up with this UI where initially when you're there, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing on menu side because you need to WASM contract in order to enable the menu. So once you, and also we have a navigation over here. If you can see the execute
Mm-hmm.
output, query output in current state,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it will show the output, and also you can simultaneously view the current state at any given point of time. Right. The I'll just give a demo when you upload any WASM file. So it gives you a message that it was uploaded successfully. One thing which we need to do is just make user know that you need to instantiate your contract, right? So once you
Mm-hmm.
instantiate your contract, it says that it was successfully instantiated. Now it will enable one text box over here. So over here, you can just have a JSON object, right? So JSON basically in order to do stuff,
Right.
right? So over here, I'll do a simple stuff, which is like call increment, and it will increment the count by one. Also, meanwhile, you can see that we have the current state. It shows root 0 entries, query output is undefined, and execute output is undefined because there's nothing to show. Right. So
Oh, cool. So you can see the current state, but
yeah,
it's in base64.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so yeah, I mean, I just wanted to render, and then we can do some manipulation on top of it, how we want to
Cool.
show it. Yeah, we can do that, right? So once we do the execute, it says the execution was successful. Check execute output for the output log. So if you go to execute output, you can see the output is JSON. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's there. And also you can query. So if you say get count, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically I'll just copy the syntax over from here just to see if I'm doing the correct one. So yeah. So if you do there and you call query, right? So it will say query was successful, check query output for the output, and you will see. So over here, I'm just seeing this output as a result. I don't know why. Can you throw some light on that building?
Yeah. So you might, yeah. So the query is everything is encoded in base64.
Okay.
You might want to try and copy that and then use a base64 like a why
Decoder.
don't you why don't you yeah why don't you copy that EY to
Yeah,
9
string. Yeah.
and then like try using or go online and find a base64 to ASCII decoder.
Uh, Okay. Decode to yeah, awesome. We can do that. So I'll just I mean this is a basic manipulation. I'll do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So but we are able to show everything on the UI and any inputs would be so what I'm planning to do next is basically so every execution you do over the contract in the console here
Mm-hmm.
rather than showing it on the web console. It will be a console over here and it will be a colorful text. You can see whatever went. Right?
Okay.
And
Um,
yeah.
it's cool. That's cool. I'm just wondering if, like for example, if you do another increment, does it change
Yes, it does. It does.
like the current state?
The current state. Okay. So
What's
maybe this
inside
is
though?
Huh?
sorry, Marco.
You need to see what's inside, otherwise, yeah, I mean, it
Oh
will
yeah.
change, but
Let's check that out.
Okay, let's first see what's the current state, right? Okay, over here it is, right?
Uh huh.
And then we go and it does, although I checked it, right? But I'll check it again,
Mm-hmm.
right? Increment, we call execute again, it'll pause figure, it's successfully updated, right? 4 keys. And if you go to current state, so it should update. Okay, I checked the output, not this one. Yeah, it did, count 26.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so you got it working, and it's doesn't require Rust, doesn't require blockchain. It all works in the browser, and it doesn't require a server, so less infra costs. And in the future,
Mhm.
we might enable more complex functionality But let's say that they clone this repository, or we make it such that it's more friendly for developers to kind of clone and then add their own custom triggers or inspectors by subclassing, for example, a component, right? And then registering those components. Let's say, like we make this whole debugger platform where they can kind of create custom components that watch for certain things or visualize things in a different way. We might be able to do that. So I think this is a very cool demonstration of of getting CosmWasm VMJS into the browser, and good job on to you and Marco both for conquering the remaining challenges. Yeah. All right.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was saying that, William, I think we can make it more accessible in the sense I have some ideas on where you can be
Yeah.
just like after having a text box, you can place the buttons inside the text box rather than having it on the menu sidebar, because it will help user to actually execute an query.
Yeah,
And
Yogesh, let's take some time.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's write down some stories so it's clear where we want to go, right?
yeah, sure.
I think the basic stuff that we need to do, apart from the base 64 that seems obvious, but we need to basically try to in some way to understand, if it's possible, to understand what methods are available. That would be the greatest thing, right? So you can fill in, execute, and query with the specific methods, and you don't have to write JSON anymore.
Okay, and that's a sort of autocomplete you're suggesting, Marco?
Not necessarily autocomplete, just a form.
Just the templates, right? For
I think that you can maybe load a schema as well. So basically, how it works is that when you create contracts, there's some things. Contracts all can generate a sort of schema, and then you can use that schema to programmatically create like React forms. But I think that's that's not necessary. I think one of the things. So as you move on to the next part of this program, one of the things that I wanted was basically for you guys to understand the model of this debugger, which is like it should, how I mentioned, maybe very unclearly in the requirements that the user should be able to execute multiple times and then kind of save the state snapshot and output at various points during its execution. I think each execution you should treat them like a data point, right? And then let's say, so each execution has like a before state and an after state, right?
Yes.
And then you have the message that caused it, right? So then maybe per execute, we may be able to kind of like have these logs or basically add to a timeline. And then when users click between them, you can see the execute message, the state, and the prior state. So prior state and then sort of like a diff. So if you use this data point model, I think you can progress more naturally with how to approach, having multiple sort of executions.
I think that's the next step, right? So the first step would be to clean this up a little bit, so it's actually a little bit, better usability. And then the second step is to start to create this timeline.
Yep.
I mean, given how everything is built, it should be very easy. So I'm really not that concerned. As long as you make state writable, then it's easy.
Right. I think at least like we put something on paper and then or in this case browser, and then kind of have room to experiment and iterate through different designs. So that's great. Okay. Aside from that note, I think It looks pretty good. And I'm confident we are able to ship this in 2 weeks.
To ship what in 2 weeks?
To ship something we can use and publish and show we're live.
Yeah, I mean this can go live. This can go live now. Of course, it's not great, but I think in a
like something that we're proud of.
yeah, I think we can. I think the focus of next week should be to polish this, so it's ready for without adding new functionalities necessarily, just making this clean, easy to use, and polished and deployed. And then if there is any time left, we'll work on. I mean, some next issues are trivial, like adding login to console instead of login to the browser console. That could be something that we can do. So something that makes it look like, I mean, a minimally functional but finished quote unquote product, like polished, right? So we can announce it. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we are quite close to that. I mean, the functionalities are there. It's just a matter of UI polish. What do you think, Yogesh?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was able to pull it off with like today itself, all of this. So, I mean, the basic navigation. So, I think, what do you guys think about this navigation bar over here? Does it make sense?
I think there should be tabs, yes, but I think it should be like so. I think you should separate the query output. I think query should be done like either as like a watched queries list or a or just like a button and a modal that kind of because the way I want it, it's kind of like the data points analogy, where each execution has the execute message. It also has the previous state, and then the resultant state. Right?
Okay.
So then it should have the input, the output, right? So the input, which is the the execute message, the output, which is the execute output, the state t and t+1.
Yeah.
And then like the user should be able to like do things to that state view, like show only the keys that were changed, or like sort of see a diff.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the top part should it can easily have the message and the response, and the middle part should have the two states.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Right. Because I mean, there is no need to have like the whole line for just this tiny JSON on top.
Right.
And the console should just log stuff as it happens.
Exactly. That's the. So Marco, if I understand it correctly, you mean the top part where we have text box. You want to divide it into two screens where you have a. Okay.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So, and then you would update the sort of total view when the user clicks on a different point in the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, we'll think about the timeline next, I guess. That will need, so the top one, just to be clear, the top one should not have execute output and query output, just output, and the output is output of whatever you just did. So if it's instantiate, is this instantiate output? If there is any, if it's an execute, it's an execute output. If it's a query, it's a query output.
Yeah.
And the middle part, and the middle part should have, for now, the current state. And as soon as we have the timeline, we show the two states before and after.
I think you should also maybe have sort of in the state views a selection between like base64, hex, and ASCII.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
So that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just wiring. 90% of what's left is wiring. Yeah, good job, Yogesh.
Thanks, Marco.
Wrapping it together is is actually
Yeah,
Usually
exactly.
harder than it looks.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, other thing that we need to do is I rebase the code. There is the new